Jesus, I almost started. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AM and the PM, another live edition of our every other week biannual show, and we are coming to you live from the AndyMark World Headquarters here in Kokomo, Indiana. My name is Danny Blau. I'm one of our product development engineers here at AndyMark, and with me we have...
I'm Nathan Masuda. I'm a mechanical engineer at AndyMark. Work right next to Danny.
Yeah. So Nathan and I, we both have a sort of each of our own sort of long storied backgrounds within FIRST. We got started when we were both in middle school, but Nathan got his start in Delaware. I grew up in the Wisconsin area. I've been in FIRST since 2002.
I'm 2005, making it 14 years, which I just realized was more than half my life. So it's I'm one of the old ones now, I think.
I think that's a cool thing. We sort of started this thing in Indiana talking about people who've been in FIRST for Half-Life, and it kind of came about because there's, you know, we have a lot of volunteers who have been in FIRST for 20 plus years, and those are a really cool group of people. But we also have a growing population of Half-Lifers. They're all, so far, we've only run into Half-Lifers who are all FIRST alumni, usually got their start really early. So it's a really cool group of people. So next time you're at a tournament, see if you can pick any out. People got their start when they were nice and young and have stuck with it this whole time. So,
no, our manager is almost 2/3. He said,
yes,
right?
Yeah. He got his start in high school, but he's been with it for, well, what he called a good long while. Cool. So I think we're gonna kind of get into our first topic tonight, and this is gonna be a little bit more at random, but we've got a few in the news sort of topics. So I guess you wanna. What do you have on in the news for starts?
Yeah, so I guess we saw that Boston Dynamics parkour robot and also their Spot Mini doing the dance to what is it, Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the moonwalking robot. I think that's a first.
That is just mind blowing how they're able to get those fluid motions. That layer of control, and I don't know if it's actuator power or what it is, but like those robots look like they're people in Halloween costumes. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's kind of creepy.
It definitely is, and the uncanny valley is something you usually hear with like computer generated like movie effects, but these robots definitely tip into that. I think last year on Halloween, Boston Dynamics did a spoof on their own Big Dog robot where they had two people in black tights walking around, and they played on their own joke. So. But yeah, the really just crazy work that's being done over at Boston Dynamics. Really cool stuff in the robotics world. And yeah, that Atlas robot like jumping like between
an order of magnitude harder than what we're doing.
At least one. Okay, so also in the news, we just saw a first blog about this. Was it yesterday? Sad to hear that FIRST in China is the Chinese regionals having a little bit of a hiccup. So we hope that the teams and the events can reach resolution in future years, and hope that we can get all those students back sort of into the fold for future years. Hope we can see some good things come out of that.
I know some of our coworkers work pretty closely with the Chinese teams and try to help them out. So I know they're heavily involved in trying to get everything sorted out.
And Bravo is the FTA over at at least one of the Chinese regionals last year, so made a lot of connections over there. So hopefully we can see them back in the fold. Yeah, so I guess also in the news, maybe you can touch on this, our water game shirt.
Oh, yes. And so they just came in a couple hours ago. Shot there. So these are shipping out Friday if you ordered one, and thank you for everyone who did. We raised over $1,000 for North Carolina FIRST and their recovery efforts, so that's go team. Good job, guys.
Absolutely. So I guess our last piece of in the news, so since the last show, the last week or I think it was, this past week, there was 2 astronauts were supposed to go up to the International Space Station, and the rocket that they were riding had a bit of an issue, but it was a good example of the safety abort system, and pulled them away from the rocket. They fell back to Earth. Showed the resilience of the capsule and the system that they were in, and everybody landed safely. So never want to have any sort of issues like that. It sucks when your hardware breaks. Leading theory, I think, is that one of the boosters came back and hit the main rocket. So thankfully everybody got out safe. And I just saw an article just before I came on air today that Russian Space Agency is going to they're going to try for 3 good robotic flights before they send people back up again. So that's how they're kind of going through. They're going to check everything out. They're going to fly 3 flights. Now the Soyuz capsule's not new.
Yeah. Not by a long shot.
That's a workhorse spacecraft. But they're going to fly 3 robotic flights before they send people up again. There may be some people up on station for a little bit longer than they planned. And actually, fun fact, the Soyuz that's up on station right now, that will be the return vehicle for the 3 astronauts that are up there, they have a lifespan limit because the fuels that they use decompose, and so they don't work with the catalyst, and so that's why they have a lifespan up on orbit. They could go beyond the lifespan and just do a ballistic re-entry as opposed to a controlled descent. That makes the entry window really big, or the landing window really big, and but they've done it once before on accident. They've never done one on purpose, but they've done one on accident. But that, I mean, worst case scenario, I guess, is the station is unmanned for a short period of time while we get a return to flight sort of situated.
Resident aerospace engineer.
Oh yeah, I went to school for aerospace engineering, so I play around with this in my spare time. We just got a cue from Ruth producing the show tonight. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. The keyword for that is !Q or something. If you put in all caps your question, Ruth will be able to find that through the chat. So our tag for tonight is all caps your question, and we'll go with it that way. Yeah.
Just yell.
Just yell. The squeaky wheel gets the cheese.
Yeah. So our topic tonight is branding.
Oh yeah, we have one of those.
Yeah. Branding and color, team color, branding, stuff like that. So as you can see, we both got on our either former or current team attire. Hopefully I'm not blinding everyone at home here.
You're highly reflective.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, they put us on camera together because we're Team Green. I'm on a newly green team, or a new team that's green. Nathan grew up on a green team, but Nathan, you came with some show and tell items, right?
Oh yes, I've got a few here. So we have this wonderful graph that Liz, our one of our colleagues, drew up for us. So here's number of green items at AndyMark, and then I start, and there it goes. Yeah, definitely not a coincidence. Yeah.
So okay, we got some green stuff on the table here. Why don't you walk us through some of the green stuff we've got?
Yeah. So one of the obviously most recognizable, I don't think you could have been to an event this year and not seen one of these, green compliant wheel.
Now on these ones, these weren't totally a branding decision.
Right, yes.
So why was this not a branding decision and some of our other things branding decisions?
Right. So these, if you've seen our compliant wheel line, we've got, 4 colors now. They denote how squishy the wheel is. So the black one is the hardest, and then it goes blue, and then maroon, and then green. The green was actually a slightly later addition to the line, and we were debating what color to make it. So obviously I had my very strong vote, but I think we were kind of trending toward the green slime, kind of like it's super squishy.
Well, so there's actually a funny story with this. With Ed and the team over at BaneBots, they had their small wheels forever. And they have the same thing where color equals durometer. And they had orange, green, blue wheels, and they all existed sort of at the low end of the durometer sort of spectrum. And when we came out with the stealth wheels originally, when we started doing those in different durometers, all of our stuff existed higher than their end. And so we decided, so we had our hard compound, and then we introduced the black medium compound and the blue soft compound, and the blue soft lined up with the BaneBots compound. And so we were like, well, yeah, we'll go blue, match their blue, and we'll sort of start a little bit of an industry standard. And then right about the same time, completely unknown to us, they came out with they were in development of a harder compound wheel, or tread, and for their own reasons, they went black. And all of these things just happen serendipitously at the same time. And so their hard compound matches the durometer of our hard compound, and they're both colored black. So now
I actually thought we copied both, so it was one and one back and forth.
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
And then when we got this material, we actually got a note from our molder. He said, "Oh, by the way, the new catalog of new materials came in, and now there's this TPU material that's in this 35A durometer, really, really soft. You guys want to try some?" Our answer was absolutely yes. Of course, we want to try anything. They were really cool. We were like, okay, well, now we're doing this. What color should we do it? And it was like, yeah, we want to do green, but also it's the same as the BaneBots 35A, and they're green too. So it all just sort of worked out in the end.
Yeah. They had to be green.
They just had to be.
Yeah. But it was funny. The first samples he delivered to us, he was like, well, no colorant. They're kind of like this beigey clear. But then we at the molding factory was like, these colors look good, and they were terrible. They were like olive green and like burnt orange. No, green,
bright green. Yeah. So the color is the performance, and so you see a lot of teams actually sort of breaking tradition, breaking their normal branding color schemes to put this wheel on over the blue wheel or over the maroon wheel because they're looking for a very specific performance. But that sort of ties in nice. We have the various colors of peanut and churro, and so these really can be a branding decision.
Yeah. So these started as just bare aluminum silver, and we got lots of requests for, well, they don't look very good. How do I brand my robot? This and that. So we came out with. Which one was first?
I don't know. We've slowly been expanding the line. I believe the red and blue were some of the first ones. Green is the most recent. But we have our churro and our peanut. Yeah, so we're getting a question in from the chat.
Oh, no, it's clarification.
Oh, clarification.
Purple was the first color to be added to the line. So the originals were black, gold, red, and blue. And those actually came out in conjunction with one of the FTC games.
The peanut was developed for the FTC game, but then the coloring and kind of the use in robot parts happened a bit later.
Yes. And I think we did add gold for Steamworks, and then just kept it on after that.
And then green is brand new this year.
Yep.
Not that the people on the show tonight are at all on theme with the new
Definitely
green.
hadn't been asking that for a year. No. Just happened.
Yeah, so the nice thing about the peanut and the churro is they're raw stock. You can buy them now. You can have them on the shelf for the season. We know a lot of teams are kind of getting used to working with them and building their superstructures out of them. These sort of exist as the middle two entries in sort of our grander robot building system, our line. We have at the smallest end we have churro light, churro, peanut, and then walnut, which is our 2x1 variant of the nutless building system. We need a better name. Our marketing department won't let us use that one on camera unless we're on a live show. So I know a number of teams out there are really starting to like. I know we get a bunch of this stuff anodized, so a lot of teams out there are really enjoying it. Hopefully more of you guys can see it. You get kind of used to building this stuff. On my team, Shamrock Botics, we use some of the gold churro to sort of accent the big green side panels of the robot, playing the two colors off of one another.
We didn't have green last year, so
and we didn't have green last year, so
you get to use both.
You had to do it.
Yeah.
And so I guess that sort of segues into nicely to Euroborn, one of the materials that we use quite a bit here at AndyMark. Now, FTC teams will know this through and through. We've used it on the game fields for years. Anybody who's around for rescue probably still has some red and blue panels or scraps of pieces left over. But Euroborn's a really cool material, and it comes in a lot of variety of colors, and it's pretty common if you kind of know where to look.
Yeah, it's got like a dozen different names or something. It's like Signboard and Alumilite
and it comes in some cool colors. So you have your primary colors, but then you can also get cool finishes like brushed aluminum or brushed brass. There's a sort of a weird kind of speckly copper kind of a color. It sort of looks like almost like oilite bushings, but not quite. There's sort of a big sort of flat silver. And I know the Shamrock Botics, we used the big, the green a whole bunch last year. We had some big triangles on the robot, like the classic sort of first A-frame robot. And so we just had these big giant green panels, and it's an easy material. It's fairly easy to get. You can get it in like 4x8 sheets is typically how it comes. You can run them on routers. You can run them on table saw. You can run them on woodworking equipment, metalworking equipment. One of the only things I'd really avoid would be like an angle grinder.
Yeah, I'd probably melt the middle.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're not familiar with it, it's
That's a good. What is Euroboard?
So it's two very thin, like couple thou thick sheets of aluminum, sandwiched between PVC foam, some sort of plastic.
It's some relatively low grade plastic, but they're permanently bonded together. So it really is one panel.
So it's really stiff. Like you think, oh, it's just plastic sheet. No, it's much stronger. The aluminum really gives it a lot of rigidity. It helps make holes nice and cleanly. It's great.
It's really good for working. We put a carbide tipped like plastic cutting blade in our table saw. You can rip this stuff really, really cleanly. Put a nice good edge on it. When we do it for the FTC game field, we're predominantly using red and blue, a little bit of yellow here and there. But we put it up on our router table. So if anybody's got a router table or just a hand router, cuts it really, really nicely that way. I know we've sort of really come to use it as sort of one of three materials that we predominantly use between solid, like 1/8 inch or 090 aluminum for when you really need strength, Euroboard sort of filling in the middle for when you don't need quite as much strength, you need a little bit of weight relief, and then plastic when you want something that's ductile, so like a sheet of polycarbonate when you want something that's ductile that will move and bend a whole lot. Where the Euroboard is very rigid. So we use that on our belly pans and throughout the chassis of the robot. Make sure the whole thing's really nice and rigid, keep it really strong.
Yep. So if you're wondering where to buy it, we do sell the red and the blue. They're actually, the ones we sell are offcuts of production stuff. It's some standards, I think 12 by 20 happened to be a nice offcut size we had. But if you yell loud enough, we might start selling other sizes that are maybe more useful, like a belly pan size, 4x4, 2x2, something like that. But it is, we haven't been selling it readily yet because it's kind of expensive and hard to ship. Flat stuff is kind of expensive, so
yeah.
It's a.
But if you're out there, if you're looking to get some sheet stock of it, you're like. Every major city is going to have at least one sort of like plastic distributor. So there's one in Indianapolis that we go through for all of our stock. They've been gracious enough to donate usually like one sheet a year to the robotics team. So we got a sheet of green this year that they donated really, really wonderfully. But every major city is going to have somebody kind of doing plastics distribution for sheet goods or various stocks for local business, local industry. And there's lots of different trade names for it. Euroboard is one of the things. So that's a whole bunch on Euroboard.
Yeah. Covered the peanut. So I guess powder coating. It's another way to color your robot. So this is a Cybertooth part, the team I'm on now. So if you get a close up of this one.
Team 3940 from here in Kokomo, Indiana.
Yeah. They're the AndyMark house team. So these were pieces cut on either our router or our Haas. The box tube was done in the Haas. But you take each one of them. You can either have a sponsor do this or you can buy your own. I know Mo had the Harbor Freight version, and I did buy one for Cybertooth for some of our smaller parts. But most of our stuff we have our sponsor do. But what they do is you hook up a wire from the system, it clips onto it, gives it a negative charge, I think, and then the powder is positively charged, and you just spray it. Make sure you don't touch the two together, but spray it like that, hang it in just a toaster oven or anything that can get it up to the spec temperature, heat it up for a couple of minutes, take it out, let it cool, and you've got a very hard coating. So this is one of the, like, you'll see GD Poofs and all these top tier robots will powder coat their structure, and it really gives it a nice looking finish that'll last through a whole season of abuse.
And it helps add a durable coating. It does add a little bit of thickness, so you got to kind of treat holes and kind of plan that stuff a little bit. But a nice, smooth finish, much more durable than like a spray paint. But it's similar actual process. So cool. So that's kind of powder coating. One other way that teams are able to kind of put some color, put some pizzazz into their robots, 3D printer filament choice. This was a gearbox at one of the teams that I used to mentor that we made, and this one ran through a whole season. So it's a 3D printed gearbox shell that still has some of the grease in it. But we were Blaze Robotics, and so a lot of the special parts on the robot were all Blaze orange.
Is that a drive gearbox?
That's a drive gearbox.
Printed.
3D printed. This was done. So we were up in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis area. Stratasys is up there. One of the kids on our team, his dad worked at Stratasys, and so they helped us, do a lot of 3D printing. So this was done on some Stratasys machines. This gearbox ran during the season. This gearbox actually represents this is a 2-sim motor, 2-speed shifting gearbox with a power takeoff. All packaged in a nice tiny little thing with some mounting into the frame. There's some crossovers here that aren't in the robot or aren't in the gearbox anymore. But just simply choosing the printer filament, for spacers or all sorts of little things, is a simple, easy way to do it. If you're gonna 3D print the part anyways, might as well just print it in the right color.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, spray paint, if you don't have the budget or the sponsors for powder coat, spray paint is a great option. It gives a lot of color to your robot. One thing we found on Mo before we had the powder coating, if you buy engine enamel spray paint, it's a lot tougher and can stand up a lot better than just run-of-the-mill spray paint. It's a little more expensive, but definitely worth it. When right off the line, it looks like powder coat for probably your first event.
So we're winding down a little bit towards the end of the show here. We can ramble on a bit longer, but do we have any questions from the chat? No? All right, so if you guys are out there watching in Internet TV land, be sure, if you got any questions, put them in the chat. If you want to talk about space things or how our day's going or any of that kind of stuff, we can go a little off topic if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
Some of the other ways that you can maybe add a little bit of design aesthetic to the robot, more than just what color is it. Some of the different, lightning features or some of the different ways that, teams are going to go about doing some of these processes no matter what. Like we have all these cutout holes here. Picking a certain style about how you're going about doing. Killer Bees, Team 33 out of Michigan, they're famous. They do this really, really well. Everything, all their lightning patterns, all honeycomb shape.
Yeah.
They're right on brand. You guys here put a bunch of circles into the tube. That could have been a square, could have been a triangle, could have been cyber tooth.
I know on Mo, we had arm on all 4 sides, and then we put LEDs inside. It looked great.
Oh, very good. So. Lighting is another really good way to try to go about adding some some look at me to the robot.
Underglow.
We saw a lot in 2016 in Stronghold. People have the big photon cannons, the big flashlights with the huge lens to act as a targeting aim. There's nothing stopping you from making that your team color. That helps with identifying which marker, which light is yours, if 2 robots are pointing at the goal at the same time. But again, just kind of helps. You're right. Whenever you're talking about imagery, you're trying to draw eyeballs to your robot. That's the real goal of what you're trying to do here. So anything that you can do to get eyeballs at your robot is for the better.
Speaking of tracking and eyeballs, Mo has a funny story. I guess it was 2009. We had these trailers that you drag behind your robot. Another one.
Yep.
And Mo, our team, sat in the stands above or below a team wearing pink, and there were a couple complaints of teams camera tracking the stands instead of the other robots. So I think we were asked to move or cover our jersey, something to remedy that, but it's...
So on a slightly smaller scale, my alumni team, 1259 out of the Wisconsin area, our t-shirt color was black, but our logo was a pink and green triangle. And so we had the same thing in 2009, where normally, like, up until that point, bumper color, or through 2009, bumper colors were team specific. They were whatever you want. While, you know, in the rulebook actually called out about using bright pink or bright green on your robot. And so all of our robot branding was sort of shot that year, and the robot had black bumpers because that was sort of the other color, and it didn't have a lot of the sort of flair of past robots that were big eyeball magnets. So yeah, and then I don't know that anybody ever locked onto like one of our team T-shirts, but we definitely had, you know, when we saw the game, we're like, oh, that's us. Like that's actually that's us.
Fine. We even have a little green bow tie on it there. Yep.
Very cool. So
we do have a question from the chat.
Absolutely.
Tacklebat wants to know, is that gearbox from a normal filament 3D printer?
Yes. So this is from a Stratasys, I believe Fortis FDM filament fused deposition modeling or manufacturing, whatever printer. Now it was done on a nice Stratasys machine, one of their industrial grade thingies.
What's the material?
Oh, it's not polycarbonate. I believe it's ABS. We had the year after. That was 2013. The year after, I believe the team had some stuff done in polycarbonate, and they actually ran those gearboxes multiple seasons. So these played 2 regionals. And I would keep running them. They're still super awesome. You can see exactly where we switched from thinking about making this own 1/4-inch plate stock on a milling machine, and we have all the fillets and everything for a 1/4-inch mill bit to go through and make these pockets. And the exact moment we switched to, nope, we're doing this on a 3D printer, and we can just have sharp lines, and who cares? But like, it is super faint, really hard to see, but we have our team number just ever so slightly embossed, playing off some of the
behind the frame member.
Well, there's a frame member top and a frame member bottom.
Okay. I thought
so
it
this
like
was open.
Between.
It says 3184 Super Box. We were sort of playing off the AndyMark Super Shifter and Tough Box and some of those things that use all Super Shifter parts. But yeah, we had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions from the chat? A sturdy high five goes out to whoever's in the chat and puts in the next question. You're on a race. Clock's ticking. Ready, go.
Yep. So another thing to think about is...
We're waiting for the race. We're waiting to see who comes in.
Delay.
They're on a delay?
Talk about something else.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Sponsors.
Ah! Sponsors!
Yeah, you always want to recognize your sponsors.
That is absolutely true.
So in your branding, I know some sponsors might have rules about how you can change their logo, but I know Cybertooth will always put like just white vinyl graphics of all our sponsors, sort of in theme with the white and purple. Just make sure you leave room to recognize them on your robot somewhere.
Most, like, you know, NASA and you know, like here in the Indy area, like NASA, Rolls-Royce, a lot of the big time sponsors, you know, that are around this area, they'll have branding standards. They'll have rules for what a one color logo looks like. So the NASA meatball is a one color logo, has different outlines and things that sort of don't exist in the multicolor logo. But yeah, like the back of our shirts, they're all just white printing because we're cheap and can't print that much.
Wrap it up. What?
No,
do the hokey pokey.
You have sponsors all down the back of your shirt too.
Of course.
Put the right foot in and the back. Yeah. Black on green.
Yep.
Do we have anything from the chat?
No.
Chat, you're failing me. All right. Well, on that sad and tragic bombshell, it is the end of our half-hour live show here from the AndyMark World Headquarters. So for Nathan, for Ruth behind the camera, for the entire team, here at AndyMark. We wish everybody out there all of the best of luck with the upcoming robot season. Hopefully your robots will be strong and your brands will be on point. From all of us to all of you, thank you. Good night.